Welcome to Whispers and Confessions. There might be a twist waiting, so please make sure to watch until the end. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Let's begin right away.
I found myself seeing Carol in a completely new light. She seemed more captivating than ever before. My heart raced as I watched, overcome with a mix of emotions I'd never experienced. As they both shed their remaining clothes, the intimacy deepened. I'm Oscar, 35, and my wife Carol is 33. We haven't started a family yet. Carol and I got together while she was dating someone else. Her captivating smile and vibrant personality had me head over heels from day one, and seeing her with her boyfriend at the time was really tough. After months of pursuing her, she developed feelings for me, ended things with her ex, and chose me instead. That amazing feeling is still crystal clear in my memory. Carol's adventurous spirit extends to our intimate life. Even after 5 years of marriage, she's just as passionate as our newlywed days, wanting to connect almost every night. Sometimes work leaves me drained, but Carol never loses that spark. She'll cuddle up to me every evening, playfully suggesting she'll take care of things herself if needed. Carol's loving nature and passionate spirit makes me so happy, even though I occasionally feel bad about not matching her energy. Her endless affection has only made our bond stronger over time. With her petite but curvy figure and that ever-present loving smile, Carol is absolutely perfect. I couldn't ask for a better wife. One weekend, Carol did something unusual. She went out to meet a friend for advice. Since it was a chilly winter day around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, she bundled up in a thick coat. She rarely goes out alone on weekends, so I found myself feeling unusually anxious. To kill time, I played some video games and browsed Netflix, but my restlessness led me to get lost browsing the internet where I stumbled across a website about wife swapping. The site had an online forum filled with personal stories. While I'd vaguely heard of this lifestyle before, reading about it firsthand was eye-opening. The stories were incredibly provocative, almost too intense to process. Most described couples who consensually connected with other couples, claiming it actually deepened their love for each other. I had no idea this world existed. The thought of Carol with another man flashed through my mind, making me shake my head instinctively to clear it away. Yet a strange notion kept creeping back. If Carol were ever with another man, while the jealousy might tear me apart, I wondered if it might somehow make me love her even more deeply. Sitting there alone, these wild thoughts refused to leave my mind. Carol came home that evening, slightly breathless as she headed straight for the kitchen, saying, "Sorry I'm late. I'll start dinner right away." I got up lazily and suggested, "Let's just get DoorDash tonight." As she insisted on at least making a salad, I wrapped my arms around her waist while she pulled vegetables from the fridge. "I was starting to worry about you," I admitted with a relieved sigh. "Don't worry, I'll fill you in later," she replied with a playful twinkle in her eyes. We shared a sweet kiss, and I was reminded once again how lucky I was to have her. Being the weekend, I decided to set a romantic mood that night. Carol's response was adorable, all innocent smiles and blushing cheeks. Then she opened up about her day, her expression turning serious. She explained that her friend's husband had been secretly participating in couple swapping, and her friend had come to Carol for advice, worried about where this might lead. "What are your thoughts on swapping?" Carol asked carefully. Having just researched the topic earlier, I felt a flutter of interest but kept my voice steady as I replied, "You mean, you being with another man? No way. Just the thought drives me crazy." Carol's fingers drummed thoughtfully on the table as she continued. "My friend said she hated the idea at first, but apparently it made her husband appreciate her more." I blinked, considering this for a moment. "Well, honestly, imagining you with someone else would make me insanely jealous, but I kind of get what they mean." Carol caught my gaze and whispered, "Maybe it makes you appreciate what you have more." love more deeply? Clearing my throat nervously, I admitted, maybe. I'm actually a little curious. Later that evening, I opened up to Carol about my afternoon browsing. While you were out, I came across some interesting articles about alternative relationships and lifestyle choices. Would you like to take a look together? Carol met my gaze with thoughtful interest. Sure, I'd like to see what you found. As we explored the blog and related sites together, she remarked, this is surprisingly deep and thought-provoking. I have to admit, it's kind of exciting. It seems like quite a few couples find fulfillment in this lifestyle. Drawn by her response, I moved closer and held her in my arms. That night, our intimacy felt different, more intense. Even though it was just fantasy at this point, imagining Carol with another man awakened powerful feelings of jealousy and desire within me. A few days later, an idea started taking shape in my mind. I suggested a getaway to a Colorado ski resort, secretly hoping it might lead to Carol meeting someone. While she agreed to the trip, I could sense her mixed emotions about potentially being intimate with another man. Despite finding the concept intriguing, she seemed apprehensive about making it reality. Hey, what do you think about taking a ski trip for New Year's? I suggested casually. We haven't gotten away together in ages. Carol's face lit up instantly. That would be amazing. It's been forever since we've traveled together. And so began our journey, each of us carrying our own secret anticipations and desires. The popular ski resorts were completely booked up, leaving only boutique slopes or high-end resorts available. Since this was meant to be a special trip, we decided to splurge on a luxury resort. It felt like the perfect investment in our relationship, even with the holiday pricing. Nestled far from Denver's bustle, the resort exuded an exclusive, intimate atmosphere. The limited number of guests, likely due to the premium rates, only added to its appeal. Through our window, the snow-covered peaks glowed softly under the moonlight, while the resort's warm lighting cast golden reflections across the pristine snow. In the distance, night skiers carved graceful paths down the slopes, their trails illuminated by twinkling lights scattered across the mountainside. During daylight hours, the scene was equally magical. Sunlight transformed snow crystals into sparkling diamonds against the crystal-clear sky, while snow-laden evergreens created a scene straight out of a winter fairy tale. Watching skiers gracefully descend the slopes was like witnessing a living, breathing work of art. After a day of skiing and a romantic wine-paired dinner, I felt bold enough to share my thoughts with Carol. With the wine warming my courage, I suggested she visit the resort's 24-hour bar to mingle and see what happens. Carol's response was adorably shy yet telling. I don't know if I can do this, she murmured, blushing deeply, her excitement barely concealed beneath her nervousness. The bar wasn't crowded, just two couples and a couple of solo guests. Carol's attention was drawn to a well-built man sitting alone at the bar's end. When she took the seat beside him, his initial nervousness was quickly overshadowed by obvious appreciation for Carol's beauty. Are you here by yourself? Carol asked softly. The man's response was unexpectedly poignant. Yes. I lost my wife last year. When Carol apologized for bringing it up, he gave her a gentle smile. No, please don't worry. I came here because it's where we spent our last vacation together. The loneliness is hard, but I'm glad to have someone to talk to tonight. His eyes lingered appreciatively on Carol's curves, visible even through her ski wear. Though his gaze held unmistakable desire, Carol's slight fidgeting showed she was both aware and affected by his attention. Carol found herself drawn to him, a grieving widower revisiting cherished memories, likely starved for intimacy. It felt right somehow. Taking another sip of her drink, Carol gazed out at the view. The scenery here is incredible, isn't it? Something about all this snow just warms the soul. The man's smile was genuine as he followed her gaze. It really is. Especially at night. There's something magical about it. It must be hard seeing all this beauty alone. Carol's voice grew softer as their eyes met. There's something about you, he said, his voice catching slightly, something familiar and comforting. With gentle boldness, Carol placed her hand on his arm. Maybe I could help chase away some of that loneliness tonight, she whispered, letting her hand rest over his. The gesture was subtly seductive, and their eyes locked in a moment of deep connection. Though hesitant at first, the man gently took Carol's hand. Seizing the moment, Carol suggested, "Why don't we share some wine in our room? I'd love to hear more about your story." When he seemed uncertain, she added softly, "I'd love to talk more, if you're comfortable with that." With gentle persuasion, Carol led him back to our room while I discreetly positioned myself behind the sliding door of the adjoining room. Their conversation started naturally, with both of them settling into an easy rapport. The man appeared relaxed, and Carol was clearly enjoying their connection. Through the slight gap in the door, I noticed his eyes appreciatively taking in Carol's curves. My pulse quickened as I watched. The atmosphere shifted as Carol moved closer, and their lips met in a tentative kiss. A storm of conflicting emotions, jealousy and exhilaration, surged through me. "I think your wife would want you to find happiness again," Carol whispered. "You really think so?" he murmured back, and their intimate connection deepened. I couldn't tear my eyes away, my emotions running wild. Their kisses grew more passionate and tender. Carol's soft sighs filled the air as his arms encircled her waist. She wrapped her arms around his neck, pulling him closer, and as their breathing became more ragged, I felt my own desire intensifying. With tender care, the man helped Carol out of her ski wear. Though initially tense, Carol soon melted into his gentle caresses. Her figure was stunning in the soft light, her skin glowing beautifully. I found myself seeing Carol in a completely new light. She seemed more captivating than ever before. My heart raced as I watched, overcome with a mix of emotions I'd never experienced. As they both shed their remaining clothes, the intimacy deepened. Their bodies drew closer, sharing warmth in the cool mountain air. The raw intimacy of the scene made my hands tremble with anticipation. His touch was reverent as he explored her curves, his lips and fingertips trailing paths that made Carol sigh with pleasure. Their passion built steadily, their breathing growing more urgent with each passing moment. Carol was lost in the experience, seemingly forgetting my presence entirely. Her expression was transformed by desire, a side of her I'd never witnessed before. Her body responded instinctively to his every touch. When they finally joined as one, the room filled with the sounds of their shared passion. Their breathing grew more ragged, their movements more urgent as they approached the height of pleasure. My entire body tensed with an unfamiliar yet electrifying sensation. My heart pounded against my chest, and my palms grew clammy with nervous anticipation. The intensity of my emotions caught me completely off guard. Seeing Carol intimately involved with another man stirred up a whirlwind of conflicting feelings. I was torn between a gripping fear of potentially losing her and an unexpected rush of excitement that left me breathless. Almost unconsciously, I found myself seeking physical relief from the overwhelming tension. A primal instinct surged through me. Every fiber of my being wanted to burst into the room, tear them apart, and reclaim Carol as mine. But I had set this plan in motion myself, and now I had to see it through. All I could do was stand there, fists clenched, dealing with feelings I'd never experienced before. The cocktail of jealousy, possessiveness, and arousal created an almost physical ache in my chest. At last, their encounter drew to a close. The man gave Carol one last tender embrace before quietly slipping away. Taking a deep breath to steady myself, I entered the room. Carol lay beneath the covers, her cheeks still flushed. Before she could ask Oscar, "Was this really okay?" I silenced her with a passionate kiss. Gazing into her eyes with raw emotion, I whispered hoarsely, "You've never looked more beautiful." Carol melted into my arms, her face still glowing as she murmured lovingly, "And you'll always be the only one for me, Oscar." That night, our passion reached new heights as we made love repeatedly, each time more intense than the last. Even after multiple passionate encounters that night, my desire for Carol remained insatiable. This unexpected experience had transformed her in my eyes, making her even more irresistibly attractive and deepening our connection in ways I hadn't imagined possible. The following morning brought an unexpected encounter in the resort lobby. The man from the previous night seemed taken aback seeing Carol's fingers intertwined with mine, but a moment of unspoken understanding passed between us. I acknowledged him with a subtle nod, while Carol offered a warm, knowing smile. He returned the gesture with genuine warmth before heading on his way. Back home, our marriage took on new dimensions of intimacy and understanding. Though I occasionally wrestle with the unconventional choice we made that night, I can't deny how it breathed fresh life into our relationship. In the months since that memorable evening, Carol and I have discovered deeper layers of understanding and love for each other. While reflecting on that night still stirs up complex emotions, those very feelings have become integral to strengthening our bond. We're evolving into a more mature couple, building our relationship on an even stronger foundation of mutual trust, understanding, and profound love.